Himachal has mountains for an easel, a pantheon of gods for inspiration, and all of nature for its matchless palette. You can travel to the Queen of the Hills, the summer capital of the British Raj of yore, Shimla. The tracks for the final ascent of this journey on the tight loops of the toy train were laid in 1903 by the British. You can also travel to Shimla by road in less than a day from Delhi, or fly there in a couple of hours. At an altitude of a little over 2,100 meters, Shimla reigns around a crescent-shaped ridge, lined with buildings whose architecture has a Victorian ambience. Along the ridge is the mall, which bustles with shops and holiday makers. In the evenings, they mingle with the local residents to see and be seen. On a hillock west of Shimla is the elegantly built summer palace of the former British Viceroy, which dates back to 1888. This is now a residential institute for advanced studies. Our destination are the picturesque valleys of Shimla, Kinnaur and Spiti. We begin our journey with a 16-kilometer drive from Shimla to Kufri. The Himalayan Nature Park is ideal for wonderful encounters with the animal kingdom. The park has been developed around a forest of deodar trees, making the trip a memorable one. In winter, Kufri is a ski resort. It is a relaxing retreat at any time. Accommodation is available throughout the year to suit a variety of budgets. The morning mist weaves its mysteries in the Deodar Valley. A short 4 kilometers away from Kufri is the idyllic village of Fagu. An hour's drive away, overlooking the splendid view, is the hamlet of Narkanda. There is a charming little circuit house here for a quiet and relaxing stay. Narkanda is located on the Dholata range, sandwiched between the Shivalik and the greater Himalayan ranges. People travel to Himachal from the world over to trek here. A trek of 7 kilometers to the coniferous forests brings us to Hatu Peak. It got its name from this temple of Hatu Mata. Steeped in history, on the trade route even today, idyllic Rampur is the gateway to the region, a 2-hour drive from Narkanda. Raja Padam Singh built this exquisitely carved palace. It stands elegantly in the center of the town. Once the capital city of the state of Bushar, Rampur was the seat of the king. The palace embodies both history and is an affirmation of a deep-rooted tradition. The jewel in Himachal's crown, Sarahan.
Shiv Shambho, Shiv Shambho, Shiv Shambho, Shiv Shambho, Shiv Shambho. Shankar Kailashpati.
The Bhimakali temple, which once housed the kings of Rampur, is around 2,000 years old. The temple has intricately carved gold and silver doors. It is a remarkable specimen of hill architecture and a unique blend of Hindu and Buddhist styles. Of the numerous peaks that you can see here is Shrikant Mahadev. Many devotees climb barefoot to worship the Shivaling, which forms naturally in ice. Situated on the river Baspa is Sangla, in the Baspa Valley, an inspiration for many a poet and painter. The entire mountain state of Himachal is studded with sacred shrines. The local people start their daily routines amidst the sounds of the horns and drums as prayers are offered at the temple. This temple at Kamru was built in the style of a fortress. It was here that the local kings were enthroned. The people of Himachal have some 2,000 gods, not counting visiting deities. The people of Kinnaur look for any opportunity for festivity. Here they celebrate the festival of flowers, called Riopurial, in the month of September. The community bids farewell to the flowers and prays for their return next spring. Everyone participates in the Mela, a dance around the courtyard of the village. The main village in the Kinnaur district of Himachal, 3,000 feet above the Sutlej River, is Kalpa. The mountain ranges seem to reach out to the ever-so-blue sky above, and the trees whistle melodies in the wind. This is the heart of apple country. You can stroll along the apple orchards of Kalpa. The apples from here are exported all over the world. But for a guest in this town, all you need to do is pluck them off the trees.
Dalang olo tiashi ale piti dautyo dalang. Dalang olo tiashi ale piti dautyo dalang.
Kinnaur is well known throughout the state, in fact the country, for its colorful woven shawls. They are made on pit looms such as this. Most of the families have their own looms at home. Walking a short distance away from Kalpa, you come to the small village of Chini. The subtle influences of the Buddhist traditions begin to be more noticeable from here on. These can be seen at the paintings on the entrance of the village and the Buddhist temple in the center. In the midst of the apple orchards, with a marvelous view of Kinnar Kailash, the abode of Lord Shiva, is the government guest house of Kalpa. A morning here unveils an awesome spectacle of nature. The crimson golden light of the sun falling on the snow peaks. With its spectacular wealth of terrain, it is only natural that the area is a paradise for trekkers. An oasis in the midst of a cold desert is the town of Pur, with terraced green fields set off against the earthy brown hillsides, 81 kilometers from Kalpa, towards the Spiti Valley. Pur is located on the ancient Indo-Tibetan trade route and is close to the Tibetan border. The influence of the Tibetan Buddhist traditions in these parts is very evident. There are many Buddhist temples with carved pillars and paintings. The many prayer stones are a testimony to the faith of the people. The highest and the largest village of the Kinnaur district, an hour's drive from Pur, Nako has abundant crops of wheat and barley. Its lonely eminence gives it a magic of its own. The presence of the monastery adds to the aura of serenity, and the harmony it evokes between mind and body and nature. According to one legend, the great Buddhist teacher Padmasambhava, in demonstration of his great tantric powers, is said to have flown and landed on a rock in Nako. There is a benign and pervasive influence of cultural and spiritual traditions, where both the Hindu heritage from India and the Tibetan influences from across the border coexist. The most picturesque lakes of the Kinnaur district are to be found here. They are said to have been formed by a large mass of ice melting with the change of climate. A day's drive into the Trans-Himalayan valley of Spiti is one of the most important monasteries of its time, the Thabo Gompa, nearly 1,000 years old. Despite its bleak isolation, here survives an ancient, unbroken Buddhist monastic tradition. The small monastic community practice the Tibetan Mahayana tradition. The founder of the Thabo monastery, Rinchen Sangpo, and his spiritual mentor Atisha introduced the arcane tantric Buddhist elements at Thabo. Once a greatly imposing monastery of the Western Tibetan Empire, Thabo today reminds us of a legacy which dazzled the world. Indeed, Thabo, in miniature, exemplifies the civilizational skills of the Tibetan people. A major festival is held here once in 4 years, in October. The barren landscape comes alive with gaiety and laughter. People from all over the region come to celebrate and enjoy themselves for the 2 days of festivity. The valley is dotted with numerous monasteries, each with its repertoire of legend and history. Dankar Gompa, perched on the side of the mountain, is an hour's trek from the nearest village. This houses the Dhyana Buddha, or a thinking Buddha. You travel through Kaza, the district headquarters of the Lahul and Spiti valleys, to the monastery of Ki. Within the hushed corridors of the Gompas in Himachal, a pure form of Buddhism is practiced. Discovering Himachal is an experience which is unique. But what makes it so much more of a pleasure are the people. Charming, tolerant, guileless, and scrupulously honest. A journey to Himachal is a voyage of discovery, of a land, of a culture, of a people, so rich and beautiful. It leads one to the very experience of discovering oneself amidst the serenities and bounties of nature.
Dalang olo tiashi ale piti dau tio dalang olo tiashi ale piti dau tio dalang